Hello everyone, and welcome to another exciting adventure of making Ansible do unnatural things in the world of ExtraHop. So today, I'm going to quickly go over how to update the asset names using Ansible in ExtraHop. And when I say Ansible, I mean just leveraging the API using our friendly tool, Ansible. So what's the goal? We're going to, by the end of this, update asset names via a flat file. You'll see what I mean by that. If time permits, which I know it's not going to, because this is the second time I've recorded this, I'll show you how to use DNS instead of importing a flat file to say this IP means this name. Oh, root finger. Okay, so when you're in ExtraHop, you're going to get some things that it's just got either a discovered name, such as you might see VMware, then the IP, then a MAC address, or if it's from an L3 discovery network, as I burp, you're going to see something like remote 161 blah blah blah. That's just the IP address I'm using at home of the scheme, but it's not terribly useful. A lot of people I work with, or even myself, sometimes I think I wish that just did a DNS lookup, and obviously it can. Well, not a DNS lookup, but it can intercept and observe a DNS attribute and then substitute that in. But for where it doesn't, this is a great way to then say, well, that's not terribly useful. Um, let's go and update that manually. So here's something I made earlier. So what I'm presenting is a two-part Ansible play. It has the concept of a parent play and a child or an includes play. So the parent play, it's got in it, as we go back to our magic pointer things that we had before, what pointer do I have? The blue one. Awesome. So the parent play is this orange oblong. And what it contains is it contains the ExtraHop connection variables, such as who is the IP address and what's the API key. It calls the child task, so in green, and it also provides the input variables for the child task. Then that lets the child task go and do the actual work. In this case, it's going and looking at the asset, searching by IP, then updating that asset with a friendly name, we will call it. Now I'm going to show you what this is right about now. So here we go. This is the parent task. The parent task, I'm going to go away from the blue pointer. What can I do? What's a blue dot? Blue dot. I should have stuck with that. I like the blue dot. So let's go to the parent play. All it says is you can wrap it up in the connection variables to the ExtraHop host. So this again, 221 is my discovery, so my sensor, and insert your API key here. That's where I had my key in, and I've just deleted it, so you can follow along there. What we then have is a calling to an additional play, so it includes tasks. And this is the child YAML file, so it's in the same directory, and it's called asset name change child include tasks, and that's mainly so I know what it is. Terrible naming scheme, but I can follow it. With items, so we want this play, the asset name child include task.yaml, to loop over this set of attributes. So if we could see IPv4 and friendly, they represent one attribute. So this is just a list. So we're iterating over the list, and within the list, we have some structured data. Obviously, we've got the IPv4, what we want to look over, and a friendly name is which I want to go and update. And I do this a few times over. There's nothing really there. It's just loop, and what does my structured data within the loop? You could have put this in its own file, but I just wanted to display because I want to try and steer you away from this way. I would much prefer people do it via DNS. However, that's in the next video. So if you want to look at that, pause, screenshot now. Okay, we're back. Now this is the child file. Now I will actually upload the file so you can see it. And I will also move my head. Can I move my head away? Let's get rid of no pointer. Yes, I can move my head. Cool. So the child's file, this has been called by the parent play. Now what is it doing? Once again, it doesn't need the connection variables. It's already got them from the parent play. So we're straight into tasks. Now I've got debug message. It's kind of like a section breakup. Ignore that part. So the first one, we're searching by IP address in ExtraHop to pull down its what would you call it? Its unique identifier. That's because things can have an IP address, a MAC address, things like that. The unique identifier is not an IP address. It is actual. It's a number, and it's critical for the next part that we pull down that per object we want to search over and update. So all it's doing is go search for device, which is item.ipv4. Now, why do we say item? It's because we're referencing we're going back to our structured data. So item.ipv4 is, if we look, where did I put it? Here, item, IPv4, item, friendly. So item IPv4 is the IP address, and we would just iterate over. Now, what it does is, once it searches for that asset, it pulls down the content, which is a bit of JSON blob. It stores it as something called output, and that's at line here, register output. What we do then in the next task, we go over this output and we say, hey, this output is actually JSON, and we want you to look at the first element, so 0, and get the value of something called ID. And we're going to set that as a fact called ExtraHop device ID, which is right there. And we're going to use that in the next part. So all we've done is gone over this thing called output, which is stored in memory, and got the value we need and stored it as a new fact. The final task is we go and update that unique identifier with our friendly name, which is that whatever it could be. I think I called it, what did I call it? R720 iDRAC, for example, or VPN pool members, or PopStep on my Pop OS laptop. It's all we do here. We're just substituting again item.friendly, and that is the API path that you would need to specify to do it. And we're patching, if you notice that. So we can't delete the item. We can't post a new item. All we can do is patch or update something that exists. And all we're updating is that unique identifier. And its name is custom name. That's the actual attribute that we're updating with item.friendly. And again, we just iterate over. So screenshot that if you want right now. Excellent screenshot, went back. So why don't we give this a bit of a run? Why not? Jump over to Mr. Pop OS. Okay, so what I've got is, there's the actual file. Now I don't need to be so big in this. Let me get rid of myself. I can go over there somewhere. So that's the actual file. And all we need to do is to run it, is ensure we are in the directory where the file exists. And yes, we are. These are the two here. And all I want to do is execute the parent Ansible task or play, because it invokes the second one. Ansible dash playbook. And I might zoom in a bit so you guys can see. This is something I struggle with. How do I make it bigger? I don't want to search, I want to zoom. Well, there's something we're not doing. I really thought it would be that simple. I guess it's not. So clear. Ansible dash playbook. And it was called, by looking up here, asset name change. Asset name change, and we're after the parent file. I don't want to give it any verbosity. We can just execute this like this. Coming up to the 10-minute mark. Cool. Now those red errors you see, we're going to come back to that. Or we're going to come back to it right now. See, status code was 204. You get the impression that this was actually an error. It's just that it was expecting a 200. We got a 204. They're actually fine. And a great way of going to confirm that is jump into, do I have, I do have Google Chrome on here. 192.168.1.221. That's the Ansible host. I think I've lost my keyboard. Connection lost, connection. Man, my System 76 keyboard, where's it at? So one of the things, the assets we updated just then, it was in fact the iDRAC. So active devices. Aha! R720.iDRAC is complete. And so is VPN pool IP. So all the VPN devices that come in here, it had remote space than the IP address. It's easier for other analysts just to know that, hey, this is a VPN pool IP. It's going to get, well, every time someone connects to the VPN, it could change. Don't think it's an asset tied to a specific host. It's a pool IP, man. So anyway, looking back at how that worked, obviously 8.8.8.8 is something I did earlier, and so is 1.1.1.1, which we would probably see somewhere here. Did I update anything else? Oh, yes, popstepper.virtual laptop. And that's this guy here that we're on, the Pop OS. Another one I'm going to do is quickly, not now, go over some of the weird stuff I've seen the Android TV doing. Alas all, at this point, that's another one that we updated. But, you know what? In 12 minutes, you guys have worked out how to go and update the asset. You've gone from that to this in less than 12 minutes. And again, if you want to take a look at the code, the parent task, it may actually be better to screenshot now and practice typing this in. Nothing is better than going and breaking it, because if you just copy and paste what I've done, just practice typing it out. So that's the parent one. Screen grab. Now, I know this one's a bit harder to zoom in, but screen grab again and just go and practice writing this out by hand. A lot of it will make a lot of common sense. Anyway, I think we'll end on that note. 13 minutes. You guys are masters. I will see you in the next video. Cheers all. Once I press stop. I've always got a problem with stop.